Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing well. This is week 6, and I am going to start the first lesson of this week. Today, the topic I have selected for this week is the laws of the multiplication of whole numbers. After watching this lesson, you will be able to know commutative property, or law of multiplication, associative law of multiplication, the multiplicative identity, and then distributive property of multiplication over addition and subtraction. Here, we will learn the properties of whole numbers of multiplication, which are given below. Number 1. Commutative property. Number 2. Associative property. Number 3. Additive identity. And number 4 is the distributive property. In the commutative law of multiplication, the product of two whole numbers remains the same. If the order of numbers is changed, let A and B be two whole numbers, then A times B is equal to B times A. This property is called the commutative property of multiplication. As commuting means changing, replacing, and exchanging. For example, when we multiply 2 with 4, or we multiply 4 with 2, we get the same answer, which is equal to 8. Here, we have another example. Remember, commute means to switch places. As you can see here, in this picture, 3 groups of 5 kids can switch their places, same as 5 groups of 3 kids. So, this situation is completely verifying commutative property of multiplication. In associative law of multiplication, the multiplication of 3 whole numbers remains the same, even if the grouping is changed. Let A, B, and C be 3 whole numbers. Then A times B times C is equal to A times B times C. For example, when we multiply 3 with the product of 2 and 4, or we multiply 2 with the product of 4 and 3, the final answer will be the same, which is equal to 24. The multiplicative identity is 1, because the identity of a number does not change when it is multiplied by 1. Let A be a whole number, then A times 1, or 1 times A, is always equal to A. For example, 2 times 1 is 2, and 100 times 1 is 100. Similarly, a whole number multiplied by 0 is always 0. For example, 99 times 0 is 0, and 17 times 0 is 0. Look at the examples of identity property and zero property of multiplication. First example shows that 1 is the only number you can multiply something and see no change. And in the second example, if you have 2 pockets with no money, then it means that anytime you multiply a number by 0, your answer is 0. Distributive property of multiplication. This property shows that multiplication of a whole number is distributed over the sum or difference of the whole numbers. Suppose we have A, B, and C are 3 whole numbers. Then A times B plus C is equal to A times B plus A times C. This property is called distributive property of multiplication over addition, while in distributive property of multiplication over subtraction is A times B minus C is equal to A times B minus A times C. For example, 3 times 2 plus 4 is the same as 3 times 2 plus 3 times 4. Look at this situation, in which you will be distributing 5 items to 5 houses in 2 different streets. Here, we have 2 possibilities. In the first case, you went to 2 houses on one street and 3 houses on a different street, and every family bought 5 items. In the second case, you went to 2 houses on one street and 3 houses on a different street, and every family bought 5 items. As you can see here, in both cases, you distributed 25 items altogether. Let's solve exercise 2b. In question number 5, we will multiply 2 numbers by using distributive laws. In the first part, here we have 16 times 23. To make this multiplication easy, we will break 23 into 20 plus 3, and then we will use distributive law. In this law, first we will distribute 16 with 20, and then we will distribute 16 with 3. That means that 16 times 20 and 16 times 3, which is equal to 320 plus 48, and then it is equal to 368. Come to the next part. Here, again we will apply the distributive law of multiplication with 37 times 48. First, we will break 48 into 40 plus 8, and then, by using distributive law here, it will be 37 times 40 and 37 times 8, which is equal to 1480 plus 296, and then it is equal to 1776. Let's solve question number 6, in which we will use distributive law of multiplication over addition to find out common elements between numbers. In A part, we have 235 in common, so we will write 235 once, and then 25 plus 75, and then by applying Bodmer's rule. First, we will solve parentheses, in which 25 plus 75 equals to 100, then multiply with 235, which is equal to 23,500. Come to the next part. Here we will use distributive law of multiplication over subtraction. In this part, we have 347 in common, so we will write 347 once, and then 123 minus 23 is left. Solve parentheses first, in which 123 minus 23 is equal to 100, and then multiply with 347, which is equal to 34,700. Dear students, that was all about today's lesson. I would like to give you a task as a home assignment. I hope you will be able to solve the remaining parts of this exercise easily.